Right. So we'll look at the relation with the broader Scopus platform. We'll also look at how it works, what are the underlying principles and, the data sources. We'll look at some of the core use cases. Then we'll look at the new features. So a features overview, specifically what is new in Scopus AI. But the focus of today is going to be a practical walkthrough through some real life, queries that you might have. And then we'll leave time for questions and answers at the end of the session, right? So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or and we will get back to them, right? So just to have a recap, so what is Scopus AI? It's an intuitive and intelligent tool which is powered by generative AI that draws exclusively on the trusted curated content in Scopus. So it was built in close collaboration with the academic community. And we look at the metadata and the abstracts of Scopus specifically since 2003. So the tool takes away the hassles of typically associated, associated with search engines, such as you have to find synonyms, you have to understand Boolean operators and or a not to combine your keywords. You have to refine the fields. There are other technical refinements that you have to do. So Scopus AI really allows you to search with natural language. The most significant feature really of Scopus AI is Scopus, right? So while AI can be applied to any knowledge base, right? There are many AI tools available now, but what makes Scopus AI special is the fact that it is based on Scopus data, which really makes the results that you get from your queries trustworthy. And this is especially important for research, of course, since the foundation of research is that the new discoveries are based on previous research. So you really need that deep trust in the academic knowledge base that you are using to answer your queries with. So we'll dive into more of the actual features of Scopus AI, but before we get there, what are the different use cases that Scopus AI supports? So here we look at the first of the use cases is getting familiar with a new topic. So this was the main aim and the focus of Scopus AI when it was developed. But it, of course, also helps you to find references just for a general query. So for your thesis or your manuscript, it can also help you deeply understand a research topic. So if you're already familiar with a research topic, you can go even deeper, and we'll look at those features as well. Scopus AI also helps you to better articulate your hypothesis or the idea of your research. And it also helps you to identify the next research area. So we have integrated functionality that also shows us some of what we call white spaces or gaps in research, where there's emerging research topics that you can also dive into. And then it helps to identify other researchers that are working in the field, and importantly also to discover strategic insights. And this is where the deep research function, that is one of the new enhancements that we've added, is really functional in giving you some critical ideas as well around your research. So at a glance, just what are the main elements of Scopus AI? So starting with a general, like a natural language query, such as does environmental, social, ESG engagement mitigate crash risk for firms? That would be a general query, for example. So what would the AI response then be to that? So it will give you a summary, so a full referenced summary from Scopus. And keeping in mind that Scopus is curated, it only uses academic literature that has gone through a selection process and that it is peer-reviewed literature that you're looking at. So that summary is trustworthy. It is high quality academic literature. So the summary then provides an answer to your query. Then it offers go deeper questions. So these are a series of prompts that have been integrated into Scopus AI, it helps you to continue exploring and learning about your topic. Then there's a concept map. So this is a clickable visual that uses keywords. These are the author's keywords to provide you with the bird's eye view of the topic. This is very valuable for also understanding the terminology around a research area. The AI will also give you topic experts. So these are top researchers in your chosen field, and it's based on the volume of their publications in the specific field. Then you have the expanded summary. So this is an extended reference summary that explores each query from multiple perspectives. There's also built into this a reflection layer. So the prompt engineering helps to indicate how relevant the response is to your query, right? So what is the level of confidence that the literature gives in terms of responding to your specific query? So it uses language to tell you, yes, something like game theory can be applied to scientific research, or it would say the literature is not overwhelming in supportive of this query. So the language will give you an indication of how confident the AI is in terms of answering your query, positive or negative. Right. Then you have foundational documents. So this is a list of the influential articles that inspired the article cited in the summary. Right. So it uses the summary that was generated, and it looks at which are the foundational documents that support this answer. Right. So you might be familiar with this. This is where we started with Scopus AI. This is what we covered in our previous session as well. And so, going to look at what are the more recent developments. So the latest in the family of the Scopus AI features, right? So here we have Copilot. So the Copilot combines the benefits of vector and keyword searching. It also optimizes the query to improve results. So if you are, in non-English language, for example, you can use your own language to submit your query into Scopus AI, and the results will then be presented in English. So this also, the Copilot is really important in terms of optimizing your query and making it more relevant in terms of getting specific results. We've also increased the year range in terms of how deep Scopus AI mines. So it used to go back to 2013. It now goes back to 2003. So it's just over a 20-year rolling window. So it's covering now about 70% of the Scopus corpus. So there's more historical insight now. Also, we've added emerging themes. So this brings forward research areas that are new or that are underserved, and I'll go into more detail about this as we go along. We've also added conversational follow-ups. This is something that we've come to expect from AI, is that it's not only about using natural language, but also to ask follow-up questions also in natural language, and then also prompting the AI to go deeper, for example. The conversational history is a toggle that you can switch on and off, so it can keep record of your queries. So you can go back to your queries, to your previous query, and also resume your search at a time. So it will keep track of it if you switch that toggle on or off. Right? And what the focus will be of today's session is looking at the deep research report. So this is a multi-page analysis with insights and ideas to help you move forward on your research. And it's really ideal for more complex and like open questions as well. So we have very specific parameters about how we develop the deep research report, and I will explain this logic, with you as we go along. I just want to dive into a little bit of some of these new features before we go into the demo. So in terms of the what was also added in terms of the query options is that it now offers more granularity, right? So you can now instruct the Scopus AI to filter your search. So you can add you can add to your query something about language. So limit to review papers, or for example, from European institutions or Asian institutions or a specific country. You can add a filter on the date range that you only want to focus on studies from 2020 to 2024. You only want publications that have more than 50 citations. And you also maybe want only conference papers, right? So all of these parameters can now be used as filters in your query. So you integrate them into your query, and I will show you an example when we do the demo. So it also Scopus AI generates 3 go deeper questions, and these are one of the more popular aspects or functionalities of Scopus AI. And along with the go deeper questions, we've also added a conversational follow-up, as I mentioned, right? So here, now, once you have received your query response, you can also ask the AI questions about the response. And this will also, in some cases, it will take you to information based outside of Scopus as well. So while you're doing your conversational follow-up, as soon as you ask a question that is not academically relevant, but it's something that comes to mind while you are doing your query, Scopus AI will recognize this and it will search for relevant information, from its wider knowledge base, but it will clearly indicate to you that it is not based on Scopus references, right? So this is just something that makes it a little bit more convenient when you are doing your searching, is that you don't have to leave Scopus AI, go into another AI tool if you are in need of asking a question that is a little bit non-academic, for example. So if you are doing a search, for example, on the Sustainable Development Goals, these were announced by the United Nations in 2016, and you're wondering about the UN Secretary General, for example, who is it? How is this person selected? That is non-academic questions, but you can still ask Scopus AI, and it will answer your question, indicating that it is not based on Scopus references. Right. So as I mentioned, we've got the conversational history. So you can automate this. So you can switch this on or off. If you are just browsing around, you can switch this toggle off and it won't keep record of your query. But if you do switch it on, then it will keep the full history of all your previous topic explorations that you can go back to if you want to follow up on any of the responses that you received there. Right. So keeping in mind also, sorry, I'm just going back to, I just want to, because this is a question that we often get. So the Scopus AI, once you generate a query, it will, every time you generate a query, it will, do a new search, for example. So it doesn't have versioning. And that's also one of the reasons why Scopus AI cannot be cited. But we can get back to these kinds of how to use Scopus AI or integrate that into your academic work, right? Right, so finding new emerging themes. This is one of the new areas. So here, this was launched at the end of last year. It really helps researchers to find opportunities that are novel, that's still fundable. It highlights the research themes in your field of interest, so including potential areas of opportunity. So these are topics that are currently underserved by the literature. And we can just look at how that works specifically. So what happens in the background is we've developed a new algorithm called the vector calculation service. It conducts then two separate searches. So looking at your query, additionally, when it gets its responses, it has two separate searches. So it looks at the one covering, one of these searches will cover the previous 12 months, and the other search will look at the 12 months prior to that. It then selects about 300 relevant abstracts per search. It clusters them by topic using a vector similarity, and it compares these clusters then to reveal a list of emerging themes. And each of these themes is then assigned to one of three categories. Novelty, in terms of the novelty that it has. So it could be a consistent theme, which shows that it has similar level of coverage over two 12-month periods. So the last 12 months and the 12 months prior to that. Then you have a rising theme. So while the coverage is similar in the two searches, the area appears to be growing. And then you have novel themes, right? So coverage is relatively low. In other words, this is a new theme. It's an underserved theme by the current literature. Remember, everything is focused on Scopus literature and what is indexed in Scopus. Right, so the topic or the feature of today is really looking into the deep research functionality. And deep research is an agentic AI tool that aims to simulate aspects of human thinking. So it is based on, as I mentioned, agentic AI tool. So it uses agents to self-control in terms of the processes that it will follow. So what the Scopus, what agentic AI and what deep research is really very good at doing, it is best for complex and interdisciplinary questions. So it adapts automatically the methods as it learns. So it breaks down the query into different components, and the AI activates agents as it goes through the steps to give you a deeper response to your query. So here you also look at stating clear goals in natural language. So when you use deep research, you can be very specific in what it is exactly. You can also include context, and it can be multiple questions as well. You can refine by country, by time range, by document type, and by citation count. You can use conversational follow-up when using deep research as well. You can ask for elaborating on specific findings, and it will create a report. So this report will then start is designed to be the starting point for critical thinking. It looks at direct answers, connections, research gaps, all referenced then from the peer-reviewed literature. So review synthesis, insights, and explore suggestions for further research. This is all integrated into the report that you will receive. And we'll look at this in a minute. Right, so I mentioned in the beginning that we designed deep research with specific guidelines in mind. And the idea of deep research is to stimulate critical thinking, not to replace this. So we don't want to take away the thinking that the researcher puts into a topic. We want to basically stimulate that. So because there are very legitimate concerns in academia and beyond that AI could stifle the research process in terms of taking away the originality and the critical thinking part of what researchers do. Because we serve the academic community, we want to work with the community. So we wanted to bring in a feature that really respects the intellectual work that goes into research from the researcher or from the academic. So so some of the criticisms also that we get from academia that we hear often about AI, of course, is that it takes away a lot of the work and it creates a literature review style report. So this is not the idea of deep research. It is not a literature review. So it's not about pressing a button and here comes your literature review. So a lot more intellectual work goes into creating that, of course. But instead, it gives you a wealth of perspectives, ideas, and suggestions. Basically, a springboard then for your further exploration of your research topic. Okay, so let's move. I'm just going to change my view and go into Scopus AI. Sorry. If there are any questions I should answer at this stage, I can do that before we start with the demo.
Any question at this stage, we probably can put in your questions in your Q&A column, and we will look at it if there's any.
Okay, good. So I'll proceed then with the demonstration. So you'll be familiar with this already. So Scopus AI is one of the tabs within Scopus. So it's already embedded in Scopus, and I'm just going to click on Scopus AI. And here you find your window where you can then activate your query. So this is about using natural language. So first of all, when you add your query, I'm going to see if I can paste. No, this is not. Let me just get my query. So I'm going to start with something very simple to show you, and I'll do different versions of this. So just to show you what is the different ways in which you can explore and use Scopus AI. So it could be something like just some terminology or some concepts that you don't understand that you want to know more about. So it could be, in this example, what is transcultural psychiatry? So it's not a research question per se, it's just about understanding a concept. But as soon as I activate this, I can now indicate to the tool whether I want to have this as a temporary conversation or whether I want to actually keep track of this conversation. The moment I activate this, right, then you will see on the left-hand side that the conversational history then appears. In the conversational history, let me just refresh my browser, maybe it's right. So in the conversational history, you will see that it keeps track of your previous queries. This is something that you can toggle on or off. You don't have to keep it on your screen. And then, as I mentioned here, also when I switch it on, I can, so it's when I refreshed now, it lost my query. So let's go back to that. I can then, continue. So I toggled in the beginning, so this is temporary conversation. So you can see when I've added, this is just a concept that I want to know more information about. It's showing me the Copilot steps. So it's making a decision in terms of using vector search or using keywords or a combination. It's optimizing my search query, sort of interpreting what is my search query. Oh my gosh, I might have a problem with my internet. Let me just try again. Or let me start from open this tab again. And put in just copy paste my query and see if this goes better. I'm just checking my internet connection. Oh my gosh. Right, so this should not happen at all, of course. Let me just go back to my slides. I just want to check, Benny, on your side, is the internet connection still good?
Let me check, yeah, Lucian.
Yes, so let me also check on my side. Just stop sharing, just want to get back in. Okay. It looks like my internet is good, so I'm just going to try again. Right, so it does look like we have a bit of a glitch in terms of access to Scopus AI. I'm very sorry about this. I'll have to go back to my slides and I'll give you an overview from the slides then, from what you can expect then from Scopus AI deep research. Let me just get my slides. I'm really sorry about that. And I'll just go to, I have some slides covering the response that you can expect from the deep research, right? So the deep research, as I mentioned previously, this is when you have a complex interdisciplinary kind of a query, and Scopus AI will look at this and give you a report. The report is in a PDF format that you can then download. So what you can expect to find from the deep research report is that it will start off with an overview of the key findings, like a executive summary almost. So what exactly are the themes that we're looking at, and you can also see then the supporting citations. After this key findings that it will cover, it will also give you a direct answer to your query. So a direct response answering your question, like you would also find within the summary, but this would just be in terms of responding to a much more complex query. It will also give you an indication of the scope that it is using within Scopus, right? So it's looking at a specific period. If you did not add a filter or add a parameter in your query saying search between 2020 and 2024, for example, it's going to show you what Scopus AI decided to select as the period. So in this case, it's looking at 2010 to 2025. What are the disciplines related to your query? Which methodologies are most prominent in the literature that it is searching or that it found? So, this case, it's mixed methods evaluation. So it gives you an idea of the methodologies or the most prevalent methodologies used in this research area. It's also looking at the assumptions and limitations. So as I said, this is really about critical thinking about your research query. So it's showing that it is taking some assumptions. What are the assumptions that are inherent to your research query, and also what are some of the limitations? Keep in mind that this information is then taken out of the abstracts, right? So in most abstracts, it is an indication also of the limitations of the research, and it gives then a idea of the suggested further research for your topic. So what are the other perspectives that you can use to look at your research query? Right? And then follows the main body of the research report, which will be a full coverage of the context and the significance of this research area. So really looking at the literature around your research query and coming up with, the context, the significance, what is the scope and objectives, and how this is covered in the literature, and it will end then with the synthesis paragraph. So it will pull all of this together then. And then finally, in the last part, it will also give you information about discussion and future research directions, right? So how else can you look at, how can you advance this research area? And then it will give you a conclusion and recommendations, right? So from this overview, you can see this is not a literature review. It's not a list of the literature that is relevant within this topic. It is really a deconstruction of the research topic. It's more like a research plan than it is of a literature review. But integrated into this, everything is then based on the literature that it found. So you can see here for this example, usually the thinking is a bit longer. So the deep research thinking would take about between 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes, depending on the complexity of your research question. It will show you all the references that it found. These references can be exported into your reference manager or just into a format that is comfortable for you. And then you can also download the report as well. So the report would be between 4 and 6 pages long, usually, from my experience. And before we continue, I just want to see if I can just try again and see, because this is really much more interesting if we can do this online and see if we can. I'm going to take a typical deep research question, and see if we can try with a new question, paste this, activate deep research. So here you can see the example I have: in what ways do societal attitudes towards mental health treatment vary across different cultural contexts? And how can policy frameworks be adapted to improve access and reduce stigma in diverse populations? Right, so this is a full-blown research question. It's complex, it's multidisciplinary, and I hope I can show you. No, so unfortunately, we have a technical glitch today. So what usually happens is it will show you how long it is taking. This I mentioned will be between 1.5 and 2.5 minutes. After that, it will then give you an overview of that report. So I think before we continue with the responsible use, I just want to check if there are any questions at this stage. I'm really sorry about the demo glitch there. Right, so I don't see any questions at this stage. So let me just share then with you the rest of my slides, right? So it's important to keep in mind also to have trust in Scopus AI is that it is responsibly developed. So what this then means I just want to make sure my view is correct. Sharing again. Right, so what we mean when we say that it is responsible AI is that for Elsevier in general, as we are developing more AI solutions, we look at what is the real world impact on solutions and on people. We also take action to prevent creation or reinforcement of any or unfair bias. We also can explain how the solution works. We have full technical information about how the AI is developed. We also create accountability through human oversight. So we have real people looking into and constantly monitoring what Scopus AI is producing. And we also respect the privacy, and we champion robust data governance, for example. So we are using an LLM as provided by OpenAI, but we have a privacy clause in terms of that the questions and the responses also cannot be used by OpenAI. So we have a closed system in terms of using OpenAI technology. So the unfair bias, specifically, this is something that we often get some of the questions about. So here we test our queries, we test the responses, of the Scopus AI to see whether, how it matches with Cora's insincere questions classification to make sure that the responses that Scopus AI provides is unbiased, right? So these are specifically things in terms of gender, race, age, geographic or socioeconomic, cultural, religious backgrounds. So all responses are checked against these bias regulations that we have in place. There's also avoiding hallucinations is, of course, also a high priority for us. And this is really done by controlled in terms of the prompt engineering that underlies Scopus AI. So it's really very strict in terms of Scopus AI can only respond to a query based on Scopus literature. If it goes beyond Scopus literature, there's a clear indication of the step, and this is only in the conversational view or the conversational follow-up where this could be, activated. But other than that, there's a strict prompt engineering to make sure that it only answers from literature, and it also has a reflection layer indicating the extent to which the AI trusts or how much literature there is to support a hypothesis, for example. So this is avoiding hallucinations, very important. If we look at what's coming in terms of Scopus AI, so the option to export references to Cybele. So Cybele is an analytical tool. This is something that we're working on at the moment. We also a new small language model re-ranker that surfaces the most relevant Scopus content. So focusing on more recent references. Also a advanced Copilot searching tool, really enhancing the search capacity, and then integration into some of our other tools as well. So a lot of integration options that we are focusing on in terms of developing Scopus AI. I mentioned earlier as we were going along, so these are also questions that are often asked. So how can we use and integrate Scopus AI into our academic work? So first of all, Scopus AI responses cannot be listed or they cannot be cited as an author. Because it's not acceptable, Scopus AI is unable to accept responsibility and accountability for its work. So the idea of Scopus AI is that it provides an overview or an introduction to a topic, but it is not. This is not information that can be cited. It guides you to the real academic information, which is then embedded in the literature, and the literature has to be cited, right? So it is not designed to be like all AI. It's not designed to be an absolute source of truth, but it's more a guide. And then for this reason, also we recommend that users cite the papers directly from the citations or not cite them, but go to the actual literature and cite the literature in their academic work, right? So also, as I mentioned previously, Scopus AI does not include versioning. So the summaries are not suitable for citing as well, because every time you activate a query, it will be different from the previous because it's taking into account new information every time. And the agency of the AI also is of such a nature that it will create a a unique and a new response to your query. So if you cite anything that you retrieved from Scopus AI, there's no ways for your supervisor, for example, to check that because there's no versioning that is in place. Right, so that is the end of my session. If we have any queries now, I'd be very happy to answer any questions. And once again, I apologize. I really very disappointed that we cannot do the demo. This is really such a disappointment, but there is some technical glitch at the moment that is really just prohibiting us to do that.
Any questions from the floor? Please don't feel shy to put in your question in the Q&A and we will address it accordingly. Any questions that you would like to know more? Perhaps that you need further clarification from Lucia? No? No questions? We see one questions. Sorry, this is not a question. I encountered the same technical glitch, but you can try by clicking on Deep Research directly. Yep.
Yeah, I did try that. Let me just go back to... I'm still getting the same glitch. I have retried and also just retried opening a new tab. So unfortunately on my side, I'm not able to get a response at the moment. I'm just trying as we're waiting for any questions. So I see there is another question. Could you please explain more detailed about the not direct citation? We did get references which we can cite, right? So yes, so what we mean there is when Scopus AI gives you references of the literature that it used to create the summary, the idea is then to go to the actual literature. That's why it is also hyperlinked. So you can go directly from the response in Scopus AI to the actual publication in Scopus, and you cite then from the actual original publication, not from the response in Scopus AI. So you can use the references for sure, but don't cite the references without looking at the underlying, literature itself. Go to the actual publication, and then you cite that publication. So I hope that's clear to you.
Lucia, that is also another question. Is there a chance the references given by Scopus AI is incorrect? I think this is something to do about the possibility of hallucinations of AI. Yep, maybe you can elaborate more on this.
Right. Yes, so the prompt engineering that we use to make sure that we do not have hallucinations. So what that will prevent is that Scopus AI will give you an answer if it will make up an answer, right? So it will not, Scopus AI will not do that. It will rather say we don't have any literature that supports this query. It will be very clear about that. But what could happen is that the AI, it's using the narrative that's used in the abstracts, for example. So it could be that the AI, misinterprets the information that is within the abstract. So that could happen, and that is why, and this is because it's AI. It has its own, functionality related to that. So that could happen, and that's why it's important to go to the actual publication and cite from the actual publication, right? So this is not, as I mentioned while we were looking through the slides, the idea of Scopus AI and all AI is that the responses is a guide to an answer. It is not, it cannot be taken as factual. So I don't want to create a situation where you don't trust Scopus AI, because it is really very trustworthy in terms of the literature that it finds, and it will usually give you very legitimate references. It's not going to make up any information, which is often happens in other AI tools, but it could slightly misinterpret a sentence within an abstract, and that could be considered as then incorrect. So it's important to go to the actual publication, just to be very transparent about that. This is the case for all AI.
Thank you, Lucia. I think this is very important on how we use the AI to responsible way.
Yes.
And always good to double check with the full text publication whenever we are trying to cite the references. And this is how we are different ourselves on Scopus AI with the open AI or ChatGPT answers. That sometimes the hallucination can be very major, make out the fake references or fake answers.
Mm.
Yep.
Yes. I see there's another very interesting question.
Yes. Just to reconfirm, those answers given or those explanations given by deep research are purely based on abstract only, or it did dig from research paper in the pool of Scopus. And if they are all the abstract from the pool of research paper in Scopus only, or including other like Science Direct.
Right, so thanks. That's a very good question. So the deep research is focusing on Scopus only, right? So it's only focusing on Scopus abstract still. The difference between deep research and other responses to your query is that it is looking at your query from a lot more from a different perspectives, and it has built in critical elements looking at your questions. So it's looking at your questions and then matching it with, what are the assumptions underlying this query? What are the methodologies that are emerging from your query? What are other questions that you can ask about this query? So it's not going deeper into the literature, it's going deeper into the topic. So it's looking at your topic from a much more wider and critical perspective and giving you an overview that you can build your research on further. So it's more like as I mentioned, like a research plan for that matter. But thanks, that's a very good question. And for the combination with the Science Direct, for example, this is something that we will be coming back to you very soon in terms of how we are creating integrations between our different solutions. And this is something that is in development, and we will share that information with you as soon as we have more information about that.
One more questions, and I think this question is the last questions due to the time constraint. So usually how long would this technical glitch last, and would love to try out Scopus AI? So I think some of us facing technical glitch, including me, but again, I did check with some of the people, their part is actually working well. So I would suggest to try a bit more later to restart the whole browser again.
Yes.
And should come out in a normal way of how Scopus AI should do.
Yes. So I've never previously encountered such a glitch. So I absolutely underscore that. So just reset your browser, or and then try again. This should pass quickly, and I think we can just maybe set up another session in a few weeks, and I'm sure we won't have this problem again.
So since this is the last question, so let me thanks Lucius spend 1 hour time with us all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. And hopefully every one of you can make full use of Scopus AI, particularly to elaborate more on your use and application on deep research, right? So hopefully it helps in speed up, accelerate your research efficiency in your research workflow. Thank you so much, Lucia, and thank you so much for the participants for this 1 hour time that we get together virtually.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.